Whew. Man, what a year that week was. Am I right? Like I always say, you got to keep things scheduled so you can get those things done. If it's on your schedule, then you're going to do them. Just in case you didn't realize, like I did last week on Thursday, it's a new episode of I'll Start on Monday. Coming to you live from the quarantine office, where we've been doing all our work. I consider it a blessing. I've always wanted to work beside my wife. She's working right next to me. Kids get to do their schoolwork right around us. I really don't mind it. I've honestly kind of dreamed of this scenario. Rather be a little bit more social, but I've dreamed of working from home like this. Almost in this similar type of scenario. But what I really want to talk about is a little piggybacking off of last week's Learn Something New. Since most of us are going to be cooped up for a minimum of another week, probably 2, 3, and you've hopefully been learning a lot of new skills and improving yourself during this time, I wanted you to look at your learning from a different perspective. So last week I encouraged you to learn something new, and whatever you decided to learn and improve on and build your skills, I want you to continue to learn this week. But from a different lens. I want you to learn from a childlike point of view. And what I mean by that is I want you to imagine that anything is possible. Like when you were a child and all the adults used to tell you that you can be anything that you want. See, many of us are going to be quarantined for the foreseeable future. And it's possibly going to be extended. Who knows? So for me, today begins working long distance and being a teacher to my children. And I feel this is a special moment because my children go to public school, and I think it's a small blessing that I get the opportunity to teach them directly and apply their learning to everyday life. I could be a reminder that whatever they imagine, they can possibly become. Their crazy, wild dreams are achievable. There's a chance, a real chance. But as adults, we lose this sort of free thinking. As we grow older, we're told to be realistic, be practical. That's not ideal. There's consequences to stepping out and trying things. Because if you fail, then that's going to be the worst thing that could ever happen. And that fear is deeply rooted in so many of us. We fear failing one time because of who knows what could happen. It's unknown. But the thing is, we're being told all these things from other adults because they're afraid of trying. They haven't even tried, but you're trying, and you're on your way to trying because it scares them. Therefore, you shouldn't do it because they just want to keep you safe. They don't want to see you without a home, without money. But if you really think about it, is it really that bad? If you didn't have a home, do you have a fallback? Possibly. A friend would take you in. Your parents would probably take you back. It'd be temporary. But if you really got down to it, and you started attacking your goal, you'd know that no goal goes from point A to point B in a straight line. No goal. Goals deviate. Goals deviate. We go from point A, and we think it's supposed to go point B, like that. We want it to, we wish. But there's a lesson over here. When you you get off track. Then there's a lesson over here because you failed. Then something over here happens. Lesson learned. And then eventually, somehow you finally make it here, but it wasn't this way. So, I'm a sports guy. I like sports. I've always liked sports. So I'm going to give you an example. Imagine these two players. There's the guy who has been told forever he will be the number one draft pick. Then there's this guy who's going to be the undrafted player who makes it. So we know a number one draft pick, they work hard. Their life, they're dedicated to their craft. They put in the hours. Because they're a number one draft pick, their road's probably a little smoother, but they've got bumps. They've bumped around. They've deviated. They've seen some roadblocks, but they kept going. They didn't stop. But then you have the undrafted player. He's putting his work in, but he doesn't have all the same opportunities as the number one draft pick. Maybe he came from a small town and the opportunities just weren't there. You know, the number one draft pick went to these camps, and the undrafted player, he didn't get to go to the camps to showcase in front of scouts. Both went to college. The only difference is the number one draft pick probably went to a powerhouse, and then the undrafted player had to go to a junior college, then go to a small Division I school. But both of these players always were told they could be whatever they want. And they knew that they wanted to make it to the top level of their sport. Both of them. The number one draft pick, his dream just seemed to be manifesting because each step, although he may have fallen off, he always got one step closer. He could just feel it. Meanwhile, the undrafted player, his road was just a little bit more bumpy. Sometimes doubt probably crept in his mind. No doubt that the number one draft pick that happened to. But, you know, the undrafted player, it just seemed sometimes like maybe this ain't gonna work. People tell me all the time I could be whatever I want, but they're also telling me you might want to be more realistic. Nobody from this small town makes it big like that. But you know what? Timing is not always the same for people, and the path there, you imagine being where you want to be, but you have no clue how and when you're going to get there. I give you that example because while you're learning these new skills, I don't want you to think small about your skills. I want you to think like a child. Think that anything is possible and that you can attain whatever it is, whatever crazy thought your mind has come up with that you're trying to attain while learning these skills, while improving yourself. Your goal is only as real as you imagined it to be, even if they are super crazy. So for this I'll start on Monday episode, I want you to think bigger about your goals. When you're learning something this week, think bigger about it. What is it that you actually need to do to become who you're trying to become? Answer that question today and act on it. Today. Even the simplest answer based on what you know today is all it takes. You want to be an astronaut chef? Where do you even start? How do you become an astronaut chef? Answer that question. What can you do? Call a chef, see what they did to become a chef. Then hop on Twitter and start tweeting different people at NASA and see what it takes to get those two together. To people that might seem far-fetched, but in your mind you can imagine astronaut chef. What is it? How can I get there? My hopes for you is that you really examine yourself over the next couple of weeks as to who is this person you're trying to evolve into. Only you are holding yourself time to think like a child again and start. Start today, on Monday. I hope you have a great week considering the current circumstances, and I hope you make some progress on the person you're trying to become. I'll see you next week on I'll Start on Monday.